Tyrell Sutton joined the Montreal Alouettes as a player in 2013, went on to play 6 seasons for the Alouettes, and now he's the running back coach for the Montreal Alouettes. And I actually go ways back with Tyrell Sutton because in my previous life, I was working on a morning show, a television show in the morning, and I got to meet Tyrell Sutton. As he came in, the Alouettes were always so great about connecting with the community, and they joined us in studio so often. So I got to meet Tyrell Sutton back in my previous life as a TV show host. And this week in the Montreal Gazette, I saw a profile on Tyrell Sutton done by Herb Zurkowski over at the Gazette. And boy, was I intrigued because it was about how Tyrell Sutton has embraced being a Montrealer, living in Quebec. And I said, you know what? Let's catch up with Tyrell Sutton. Tyrell Sutton is on the line. Tyrell, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. How you been, Elias?
I'm doing great, and it was so amazing to see your smiling face in the Gazette and your story. And I said, we have to catch up here. And there was a couple of quotes from you that really got my attention. Tyrell, I've worked in sports in the past. I worked in baseball with the Expos the last 3 seasons. And the U.S. players, there were 2 types. There was one type that hated everything about being in Quebec. They hated the French. They went to the grocery store. They saw French words. They hated it. And then there was the other type that said, I love this. They loved that everything was unique and different. Why is it that you fall into that second category? Why have you always loved and embraced the city?
I think it's because it's given me a sense of stability. I've been here for, 10 years now? And the one thing that we crave as humans is stability and inclusiveness. And so I think that by me being able to figure some of it out at an early point in my career here, that it just turned into a very much love relationship.
Love of the city and also love as well. You've got a Canadian wife and you want to make this place home. You want to become a citizen. Tell us about that. Yes,
I do. Like I said, the biggest thing for me has been stability. This is the longest place that I've been in my life, with the exception of growing up in Ohio for 18 years. But once I graduated high school, it's pretty much been bouncing around for 3 to 4 years. And I graduated college after 4 years. I was in North Carolina for about 3 years. So everything has been kind of bouncing around just a little bit. And so when I got the opportunity to be here, even though I didn't actually know I was going to be here for 10 years, I had to plant my flag somewhere.
So
this was definitely the place for me to do it at.
And, there's so many ways you can do that, right? And everyone has a different type of way about becoming part of a community. One of the reasons why I want to talk to you is because there's a quote here, you don't go into somebody's house without learning the rules and their ways. This is about how you have, done a lot of work to learn French and speak French. And I know you don't want to get into politics, Tyrell, but sometimes in this province, and I'm, like when I talk to our listeners, that type of a statement can be perceived as political. So tell me about that. Tell me about that notion of, living in someone's house without learning the rules. Tell me why it's so important to, quote unquote, learn the rules of Quebec.
Well, because you can't just walk into somebody else's, especially for an extended period of time. You have to learn the ways of how they wash their clothes, of how they cook their food, of how they speak the language. And so it only helps you become more and more comfortable with the people within the home. So I wasn't going to come here and try to force my way on a group of people that's not how it goes. So my biggest thing was to come in and become a part of the fabric, not necessarily disturb the peace, but become a part of the fabric and become a part of the culture to where it's not only just that immigrants are from Ukraine or from Mexico or from other outstanding countries, but to be able to come from the United States and to come here in a hidden gem where it's like being off the continent in a whole different place. And so being able to relate to you guys is the biggest thing that I wanted to be able to do as an American, becoming a Quebecer, a Canadian.
So how much how much studies do you do in French? How is your French right now?
Je parle de petit peu, je parle avec ma femme. J'ai pris un cours de français à le collège de Rosemont pour 4 mois, chaque jour, 8 heures chaque jour. C'est un vrai travail.
I'm telling you, Tyrell, like we're all like this is amazing. You know what I mean? like you're speaking French, and we have a lot of listeners that wouldn't be able to speak French at your level, right? So it's just amazing to hear. Can we talk a bit about the love aspect of this, right? If you're speaking French to your wife, that's a big part of it. You're speaking French in the home.
Mais oui, avec mes enfants. Mon garçon a 3 ans. Et il parle beaucoup de français, mais il compris anglais, mais il reprend en français.
As-tu fait une entrevue en français avec RDS ou un autre média? Like, are you doing interviews in French now with the media?
Non, pas maintenant. Okay. Pas maintenant.
You're close, though. You're getting there.
Tout de suite. Ouais, avec Didier RDS, je vais... Je vais faire une interview en français.
Wow.
Un petit peu.
Wow.
Tout de suite.
You are definitely getting to the point where that's going to be a thing. You'll be doing French interviews sooner than later.
J'espère que oui.
Tyrell, let me ask you this, because you mentioned this, right? You come from the United States, right? It's one thing when people immigrate to Quebec from places around the world that you can sort of objectively say aren't the greatest places, right? And they're moving to Canada for a better life. In your instance, you can make the argument, you could have a great life in the U.S., you could have a great life in Canada. Why have you made that decision? I could have a great life on both sides of the border, but I want to have it north of the border.
Well, it's a different landscape in the United States. I mean, even just coming up here, and some guys will attest to this, it's a different type of mentality. Mm-hmm. The mentality in the States is you kind of always are looking over your shoulder, and as a black person, as a black man, it's not getting any better. And so with me having a family now, I want to raise my family in a place where it's not so combustible, where their mentalities won't be so much to look over their shoulders, but it will be to access everyone. Down in the States, there's sort of a two-division country, whether it's politics or whether it's race. Everyone seems to go one way or the other. And up here, you kind of have, and leading into politics, you have many different voices, the CAC, the Bloc, and all these other ones who give a voice to the minorities, not just one particular minority, but all types of minorities. And so just leading into that sort of a sphere of where everyone is sort of included, or voices are at least heard instead of the majority. It's a much better and easier lifestyle. There are no guns here, but obviously you're going to hear one or two incidences every now and then. But in the States, you hear about 3 in the same day. So just being able to have an easier mindset, an easier way of life for not only not me, but my family is probably the biggest attribute to being in Canada.
Tyrell, I gotta say this. I talk to some people that grew up here and they live here, and sometimes they talk about Quebec like Quebec is a racist place and a bad place to be an immigrant, and they say the worst things about this province. I always scratch my head and say, God, if you think Quebec is bad, what do you think about every other place in the world? When you hear someone talk negatively about Quebec as a racist place or a non-welcoming place, what's your reaction?
I can't say racism doesn't exist. I mean, it's happened to me once or twice here, as in the 10 years that I've been here. But I will certainly say that it is not even comparable to what happens in the United States. The people here are very inclusive. There's multilingual languages going on around here. And so anyone who says that is probably just uninformed, I would say.
Tyrell, let me wrap up this interview. Let's talk a bit about your family, your wife, how you met her, and building a life in Villeray.
I met my wife here for working with the Alouettes in 2017, 2018, and we've just built an entire life that's been absolutely amazing. I would never have expected it. A lot of people who know me will tell you that this came as a surprise to them too, because I was on a path to being probably alone or by myself for a period of time, and then my wife came in and changed my entire viewpoint of life and family and marriage and everything else. And so I can't thank her enough for giving me the opportunity to be here with them and to raise my family here. She is the entire reason for everything that has been happening, and she is the one.
Tyrell, it's so great to hear your voice again and to talk to you. And, well, let's have another chat real soon, maybe about football.
Too sweet. Too sweet.
Awesome. That's Tyrell Sutton, running back coach for the Montreal Alouettes.